Hi, I'm Nancy Herkness, romance author, and this is Writer Unedited number 51. Oh my goodness, I can't believe I've been doing it for a year now. Jeez, that's a lot. Where I just chat about whatever is going on in my writing life, sometimes in my personal life too, you never know. And if you miss one of these lives and you want to go back and watch it, I have a YouTube channel and I put them all up on the YouTube channel, so you can go check them out there. So Sally, how's things with you? Hope they're good. Sally has a new grandchild, very exciting, so cute, she's adorable. Okay, so let me get started. I am working on Raul's book, Royal Caleva Raul, which is the third book in the Royal Caleva series, and Raul is the Prince of Caleva, of course. And I decided in a fit of who knows what, that one of the things Raul was going to do was go rock climbing. And of course, I've never been rock climbing in my life, so why would I do this? I don't know. But I posted on, so I've just been doing a ton of research on rock climbing, of course, because that's what writers do. They do research, and I can, I've learned all kinds of things, including I have some wonderful terminology that I want to share with you, just because I love the colorful language of it. Because like everything, every sport, every activity, it has its own unique slang, which is pretty colorful and descriptive and fun. But what was great about the fact that I posted on Facebook and said, I'm writing about rock climbing, I don't know anything about it. Well, it turns out an old college chum of mine, Reiner, rock climbs. Who knew? I didn't know he did that. And he was willing to spend an hour on the phone with me telling me about the things about rock climbing that you can't learn from just Googling it and, learning terminology like I'm going to talk about. And just to explain what I mean about the things you can learn from talking to someone, as I was asking about sort of the sensory aspect of rock climbing. What do you feel? What do you smell? What do you see? That kind of thing. And he came up, for instance, with this one lovely image, because one of the things you do when you're rock climbing is you chalk your hands to keep them dry. The idea is to keep them dry because otherwise they'll slip on the rock face because, you sweat. But you also just have natural oils on your hands and they make it slippery. So you put this chalk on, and he said, if you're standing or hanging on the rock face in the sunshine, he said when you put the chalk on, it sort of poofs out a little bit, and he said, and it sparkles in the sunlight. I mean, who knew that? Am I using that in the scene? Absolutely 100%, because that's the kind of detail that makes it real, right? That makes you feel like you're there. And I'm just so grateful to Reiner for taking the time to talk to me about all these things. And, he gave me new insights into the mental state that you're in. One of the things he said I thought was interesting on Googling it, people always seem to refer to it as a puzzle. You're putting together the pieces of the puzzle. But he said he thinks of it as a chess game because you're always planning out your next move, because you're slowly climbing up this cliff. So you're always planning out the next move, just like a chess game. And I thought that was a wonderful image too. So yeah, I'll probably use that too. I had partially written the scene, the rock climbing scene, and now I have to go back and edit it based on Reiner's input, which is great. I don't have a problem with that. We have 3 viewers. So whoever the third viewer is, the second and third viewers, tell me who you are. Sally, so cool. Yes, so cool, right? I mean, that's what you love. I have to say I am so grateful to the people who are generous enough to spend time talking to me about what they do or where they've been or just sharing their knowledge with me so that I can make my books better and more authentic. It's really, really kind of them. So, all right. Oh, and then the other interesting thing that happened was, as Reiner and I were talking, I said, oh my God, I can't imagine, I would never go rock climbing, and I'm afraid of heights. And then I suddenly remembered, oh, I know what it was. He was talking about rappelling, down the rock face with the rope. And it reminded me that I actually have done rappelling. Yeah, I'm afraid of heights. Who knows? So I was a teenager and I was going to a new school for the first time, and they had us do an outward bound expedition. I think it was only an overnight. I kind of forget now. Maybe it was 2 nights. Anyway, it wasn't long. And we went off into the woods with a leader. I mean, somebody who knew what they were doing, although our leader literally got lost, which I sort of was, it was interesting. But anyway, he finally figured out where we were. And one of the things that we did the day after we camped out in the wrong place was we went to this ravine where there was a, you know, like a river or a stream that had cut through, you know, rocks. So there were cliffs on either side. And in order to get to the other side, you had to go across 2 ropes. So one, you know, high, one low. You put your feet on the low one, you put your hands on the high one, and you moved across 1 foot and moved one hand at a time. And I did this. Now, you know, they put you in a harness and you're clipped to the rope. But, you know, you're responsible for getting yourself across. So I did that, and I thought it was fun. I mean, I was a little nervous, but mostly I thought it was fun. I guess I trusted the equipment, which is what they say you have to do in rock climbing too. And then when we got to the other side, the only way down was to rappel. So you know, again, you were in a harness and they hooked you up to the rope and you lowered yourself down, bouncing off the cliff. Now, the leader again was at the bottom holding the rope. So, you know, if you started to fall, he would have stopped you, which is what happens in my cliff climbing, rock climbing scene too. You have a belayer, as they call it, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But I just remembered I did it, and I actually thought it was fun. Go figure. Crazy person, right? Reiner said, so you're really not afraid of heights? I said, oh no, I am. I was just young, and, you know, we think we're immortal at that age, so I wasn't, I guess, I don't know. Trusted the equipment and the leader. The leader who got lost, I'm not sure I should have trusted him, but anyway, I didn't die. Obviously, I'm still here. Didn't even break anything. But it was fun to remember that, and to remember that once I was brave and adventurous. Okay, so let's talk about the terminology because I think it's fun. So this one's not so exciting, but crag. I've discovered crag is the word for the cliff or the outdoor climbing area where you're doing your climb. You don't call it a cliff, you call it a crag. Whipper. Whipper is if you have a lot of slack in your rope and you fall, so it kind of whips you. You don't want to do those. They're not good. You can bang into the side of the cliff doing that. So whippers are bad. Beta. Beta is information about the climb, like, you know, what the best route is, how to complete it, or at least how to complete parts of it. And so my heroine, Erica, has done this climb, and so she gives Raul the beta on it. Hang dog. I love this. This is something Raul does not want to do because it means that you ask the belayer to take tension in the rope so that you can hang against it to rest partway through the climb. And, you know, Raul's very proud and competitive, and he doesn't want to hang dog ever. Mantle. I love this. Mantle. So think about getting out of a swimming pool where you put your hands, not that I've ever been able to get out of a swimming pool this way, but people with upper body strength can. Put your hands on the edge of the pool and you push down and you bring your feet up onto the edge of the pool to get out. Sally, you swim. Have you ever mantled on the pool where you just use your hands and then get your feet up on the edge of the pool? I never have. Never could. It's a cool move though. Smear. I love this one. Smearing is when you use the sticky bottoms of the climbing shoes to sort of walk up the, you know, you're holding on up here to something, whatever your handhold is, and then you smear your way up the cliff with your feet. I just love that term because it's very descriptive, right? You're smearing the rock with your feet. Elvis leg. I love this. Elvis leg. So think about it. It's when your calves start to feel the groove, as they say, and uncontrollably start bouncing, also known as sewing machine leg. And people say, would you like some milk with that shake? So it's when your muscles get really tired and start shaking. It's called Elvis leg. Isn't that great? Jug. A jug is a large handhold that's really easy to hold on to. And let's see. Oh, Gumby. I love this. A Gumby is a beginning climber. And Erica, the heroine, yes, she dares to call Raul a Gumby. But, of course, he doesn't mind because he knows it's true. He's a beginner. And I thought that was fun. And it evidently derives, I thought it derived from the fact that you feel rubbery when you're climbing, when you're a beginner. But it's because you're kind of clumsy and awkward like the Gumby character in anime. So, okay. Sally says, ha, I'm more plop. Oh, getting out of the pool, Sally. You don't mantle, huh? Ah, I'm disappointed. And she says, and I take it that Erica is the leader in the climb scenes. Well, actually, she's the belayer. So when he does his first climbs, they do what's called top rope climbing, which means that you have a rope anchored to a boulder or a tree or some kind of anchor, very solid anchor at the top of the cliff, or at least partway up the cliff. And you thread the rope through that, and Erica stands on the ground holding one end of the rope, and the other end is tied to Raul, the climber, so that if he slips and falls, she braces him so he doesn't do a whipper, a long fall that whips you into the cliff. Sally says, but is she the experienced climber to Raul's newbie status? Yes, she is an experienced climber. She used to climb in this particular location all the time with her father. So that's why the royal family hires her to guide him on this trip, because they know that she's an expert in this area in particular, not just as a climber, but in this actual area. And then the other thing, which makes a lot of sense since we're talking about top rope belaying and belaying of any kind, where you're, because even if you're not, you know, you can also climb in a way where the first person, so the cliff is too tall to have a top rope. You know, you can't put the rope up somewhere. You have to anchor yourself as you go, and the first person is the lead climber, is the one who puts in the anchors, and then the person behind them is and they're belaying each other basically on those anchors. So in that case, Erica would go first as the experienced climber, and Raul would be what they call the cleaner, where he takes out the anchors as he goes. So yeah. So there's also a language for this. When you're belaying someone, you have to be very clear in your communication, which makes sense because basically the belayer is holding, you know, is responsible for the climber survival, essentially, I guess you could say. So when you're ready, the belayer is anchored in and has the rope set up through her belay device. So she calls this command to let the climber know that she's ready, in Erica's case. And she says, belay on. And he says, on belay. And then to say he's ready. And then he goes to the face of the cliff and says, climbing, which means he's going to start. And the belayer says, climb on, which means I'm ready for you to start. So there's this whole call and response, which I love, because think about the trust that establishes between the two characters who don't know each other before this particular expedition. So, or know each other very, very vaguely. Because Erica is actually the pilot for Raul's cousin Gabriel's private jet. So they've met, but that's literally it. And then there's some other terms. So the climber will say slack, which means let out some rope, saying to the belayer, let out some rope because I need extra space to do this. And then the climber will say tension, which means take the rope in, because I don't want the slack. Slack is bad. If you have too much slack, when you fall, you have a whipper, right? Because you've got all this rope to play with. So, and particularly at the beginning, you want to make sure there's that the tension's always there. Then the climber says, and you'll get this one, falling, guess what that means? And so the belayer has to be ready and braced for the weight of the climber to hit the rope. And then when you're done and Raul gets to the top of the cliff, he says, "Off belay." And Erica says, "Belay off," which means they're done. Actually, he comes back down the cliff, so they don't say that until the bottom, to be fair. So that's some of the fun stuff I'm learning about rock climbing that I wanted to share with you because I think it's interesting. So I have one piece of good news. Gabrielle won the gold medal for contemporary romance in the Reader's Favorite Book Award. Woohoo! Go Gabrielle! I was very excited about that. A gold medal. I love that he got a gold medal. I feel like I'm at the Olympics. This is actually, so sorry to brag, but being a writer is tough, so sometimes you got to brag. This is the second award that Gabrielle's book has won. Go Gabrielle! I love him. And that's pretty much all I got. There's another viewer here. Who are you? Say hi. Please say hi. I like to know who I'm talking to. But that's it. Does anybody have a question about rock climbing, about Raul's book, about Gabrielle's award that I'm just going to mention again because it makes me happy? You know, when you're sitting at your computer sweating over a scene, like I have been sweating over this rock climbing scene, and you get an email that says, "Your book won an award," it's just the best. It's such a lift. It just brightens your day. It's like getting an email from a reader that says, "Oh, I just finished your book and it was absolutely fantastic. I loved it. It took me away. It made me happy. Whatever it did." It's like that. It just brightens your day. It's so exciting. So please email writers that you love when you finish their books and tell them how much you like them because it will brighten their day. I guarantee you. So Sally says, "Is Raul going to be swimming?" So yeah, Sally, that scene with the swimming pool, it got axed. It was at the very beginning and it got axed. That doesn't mean it won't come back. Or it doesn't mean he won't go swimming because actually there is going to be some water in this story, but not necessarily a pool. So it might be open water. It might be a boat. You know me, I'm a pantser, not a plotter. So I'm never quite sure what's going to happen. I just kind of wing it as I go along. But right now, the suspense plot, sort of seems like it's going to include water. That could totally change, as you know. Again, pantser thing. Sally skinny dipping. You never know. Could happen. Not actually in the plans right now, but could happen. There are 3 people here. Who are the other 3 people? 2 people, I mean. Sally's doing all the talking, which I love. Thank you, Sally, for doing all the talking. Well, I'm doing all the talking. Sally's doing all the commenting, I should say. So say hi if you're here. All right, well, I'm going to shut up because I'm sure you've heard enough about rock climbing terminology, but I do love it. Smearing and Gumby are probably my 2 favorites. I just love smearing. And I don't even use smearing in the scene because it's a little too technical to explain. But, you know, and it's funny which ones you like the best. But that's my favorite, smearing and Gumby. Gumby gets used. All right, guys, thank you so much for coming by. I really appreciate it. Everyone take care. Enjoy this glorious weather. We're having glorious weather anyway here in New Jersey. In the first days of September, which are probably my favorite time of year. Well, or spring. Early May can be really nice too. Early September, early May, probably my favorites. So I will see you. No, I will not see you next week because I have book club next week at my house. So I will not be doing a live next week because I'll be exhausted. And also it's at the same time. So I will see you in 2 weeks. Thank you so much for stopping by. Love seeing you guys. Take care. Bye-bye.